Hello, everyone. Welcome to another amazing episode of Outside the Studio. This is Tessa here hosting you, and I'm very honored and have been looking forward to this conversation for a while now to have Jeanine Thompson on the show. She recently wrote the book 911 from Your Soul. Well, I guess I shouldn't say recently because I'm not sure when you started this writing journey, Jeanine, but it did come out in September of 2022. So it's relatively recent for us consumers of your good work. And so Jeanine, by way of a little bit of background, you're a transformational coach, you're a speaker, obviously you're an author. You have so much study in your background. You have a Master of Social Work. You hold numerous certifications, including Certified High Performance Coaching and Rapid Transformational Therapy. And so I'm just so honored to have you here today. And like I said, have been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. And I'm kind of kicking myself because before we started recording, we just dove right into this very deep chat that I wish we had captured. So hopefully we can reiterate what we were speaking about. But before we go there, how are you today? And thank you for being here.
Thank you. I was so excited to meet you. I love your show. I find it to be so inspiring, so relevant, and so vital for our times right now. So delighted to be with you and your listeners. And as far as how I am beginning this year very gently. Every day, I really, instead of having goals or resolutions, I've set those to the side this year and just said, you know what? I'm going to follow nature's wisdom. And nature's wisdom this time of year for the winter seasons is stillness. There's more darkness outside than light. And so it's an invitation to rest, reflect, and renew. So instead of starting from, I have to get this done, it's a new year, a new me, da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm just like, no, all is well. All is enough as is. And I'm just going to meet the moments with the best of who I am.
I love that so much. Nature's wisdom is stillness. And that is so true for the seasons of winter. I mean, it's a call to internally reflect and to be still and to sleep a little bit longer. I mean, that darkness really draws us to that.
Yeah, and to seek comfort and kind of nurture our energy. So when the spring burst of energy comes, we're ready to rock and roll. So I think we're all needing some more whispers of tender gentleness and love and a knowingness that no matter what's going on in our life right now, we are all okay exactly as we are.
Oh, yes, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think where I would like to, I definitely want to talk about the book, but I'm curious, to me, it sounds like there's this, I hear this a lot lately when the new year rolls around, this kind of shift away from New Year's resolutions. And some people take the approach of kind of looking backward. What did they do well in the past year, kind of a reflection in the past year and what happened. And some people are kind of choosing a word of the year. I'm sure you've heard this. And so I love this, your approach to not really setting a resolution, but just honoring the stillness and the wisdom of the seasons. I'm curious if that's a relatively new shift for you, if it's always been your approach, if you've ever kind of, for lack of a better way to say this, fallen into the trappings of new year, new me, quote unquote, kind of thinking.
This year, historically, I even led large guided reflections, and we would go through, what are you proud of? What do you want to celebrate? What were some of the messy moments or challenges that you want to forgive yourself for? And it was lovely. And I think at the time it felt right. This year in meditation, I was guided just to join the natural rhythm of the seasons. I think wisdom, nature rather, is one of our highest wisdom teachers. It reminds us in the sun rising, in the sun setting, that we need the and rest and productivity, harmony personally and professionally. So it reflects to us dynamic exchange. But at this time of year, it reminds us that it is actually in the deep, dark riches of the soil is where growth of plants, of food, and us as spiritual beings in wonder suits, a time to just embrace ourselves, settle in to the unknowing, and just receive and allow with grace. So it's a new practice. And in meditation, I heard there's such a focus on me. What did I do last year? How did it go for me? Me. And there can be some value in that. But I was guided to offer instead 3 different questions, which is, how does life want to flow through me in service to my higher self growth? How does life want to flow through me in service to others' growth? And how does life want to flow through me in service to uplifting humanity? So we're still looking at self, but we're adding others and humanity. Because I agree with the Buddha. He said the most important thing right now is Sangha, which is community. So I want to invite us into a gentler, nourishing embrace of ourselves and a gentler, kinder outreach to others and all on the planet.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful and so needed invitation to remember that we could take our practices a step further in recognizing those in our community, our Sangha, and humanity as a whole. And this is kind of getting back to the topic we were briefly diving into before we recorded I was thinking about kind of the paradox of feeling this sense of scarcity of resources, that we're heading into a period, it feels like to me, and I'm curious what you think about this. It feels like we're heading into a period, I have no idea how long, of scarcity of resources. I'm thinking about food prices going up, fuel, water scarcity, all of our natural resources becoming pretty taxed, and the same time, this call to awaken, this call to return to our collective humanity and our Sangha, and to think about each other and the impact that we have, not just in our little circle, but on the world at large, and what that means for the future of this human race. So now it seems almost like, do those 2 things have to happen simultaneously? It almost seems like they're very related, although they sound pretty dichotomous, right? What are your thoughts on this?
They seem like they're opposing, and yet underpinning all spiritual growth is paradox. So we often get seemingly opposite invitations. On the one hand, if you listen to the news or you go online, you will hear some of those, and we see it in real life. There's heightened division. There's a tremendous challenge for many financially in our food supplies and home security and job security, etc. So there is no doubt there are stressors around us, significant ones. And at the very same time, I think that the universe is quite clever. I think that this great mystery of love, of all that is, often teaches us in paradox. So we have the paradox of, wow, is this struggle, is it insurmountable, or at least it's exhausting in moments, is actually, to me, an invitation, a call inward to shut off all that external noise, because they never report in the news how many acts of love and kindness are like love bombs all around us all day. We don't hear that. So I think we get tipped into believing this scarcity model when the invitation is inside. When we turn inward, we can discern a higher truth that even if some of these challenges are pronounced, there's a greater truth of our infinite wisdom, of our infinite ability to generate resources when it's seemingly impossible or they're supposedly not available. I think that challenge is always an invitation to go inward and connect with deeper truths of who you are. Because every single one of your listeners right now has the capability and the capacity within themselves to solve any problem. There's a part of them that already knows the answer, the way, the solution. And there's a part of them that knows that actually any problem in this world right now, we do have adequate resources. We can help everyone. There's more than enough to go around. It's actually an overly abundant universe. We just have to seize how we cultivate and share the availability of the abundance.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly. This was so clear to me. This is an example to highlight that when we're grocery shopping lately. Like, for example, I went to the store with my partner yesterday, and everywhere you're seeing the eggs being limited to, depends on the store, but they're either like $10 a carton, or it's limited to 1 to 2 cartons per person. And it's like making the choice of, okay, do I need these? Do I have to, if let's say the limit is 2 cartons, and I know that I have enough, with 1 carton, but I want to get the maximum amount because I'm in fear that if I don't take that second carton, I'm not going to have enough to feed my family the next time, and it's all out in the store. So this making the decision from the place of like, I'm only going to take what I need versus I'm going to take the maximum amount that I can because I'm in fear that it's not going to be available to me the next time that I go to get some.
I think you're in really good company. We have been taught to think and move from our head brain, and our head brain is largely full of messages enlivened by the inner critic. Something could go wrong, watch out, take more than you need, just in case it runs out. Those are some of the messages that I think at times are purposeful in media to help people stay locked into that station of you're not enough and live in fear. But it turns out that our head brain is only one of 3 of our brains. We got a gut brain, we got a heart brain, we got a head brain, and it is through the heart, and specifically what the mystics and the scholars would say is our spiritual heart. There's 3 levels. We got a pump organ, which we all know and feel every day. We got the emotional level, which we also recognize this dynamic and of great joy and beauty and feeling fully alive. And then we have also the emotional heart level of feeling deep sadness or overwhelm or fear. And we tend to believe those emotions. But the real invitation is one tiny energetic layer lower. I think of nesting dolls. You take off the physical level, the emotional level, and right when you get down to that tiniest nesting doll, in the core of your being, hand on heart center, one hand on heart center, one hand on belly, there is the voice that says, you already know the way. You've got this. You will always be provided for. All is well, even in the appearances where it's not. Tune inward, and you'll be shown the way and guided and protected. That's where we're asked to go to soften that busy brain of 70,000 thoughts a day that are on a rampage. Turn that dial down. When we touch our body, we follow touch. So when you literally place one hand on heart center, one on your belly, you're already signaling to your body, oh, time to shift from the busy brain to a deeper truth. And then just close your eyes and breathe and imagine, just imagine that you actually did know that the inner genius within you, you open up this sanctuary of every answer, every solution you ever needed. And in that space was only unshakable peace. That's our invitation. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes when I go to breathe, my busy brain says, oh, you got to go to the store and do this. You got to make this call, answer that email, or it will say, oh, you idiot. Why did you say that? That isn't what you meant to say. This busy brain of ours, that's our false self. It's our false self of all those conditioned beliefs, all those untruths of scarcity, of limitation, that we were bad or wrong and deserve to be shamed or held back in some way. That's just the conditioned self of personality. But our true self is actually right now yearning to say, hey, this is who you really are. Let me lead the way.
Yeah. I'm leading a yoga teacher training right now with a really good friend of mine, and we just introduced the Yoga Sutras, the first 3 Yoga Sutras, to our students last weekend, and we were describing the basically the difference between seer and soul, or seer, big self and small self, right? So, are you familiar with the work of Patanjali, the Yoga Sutras?
I am. I went through yoga teacher training myself. I've got the books around me. I love the Yoga Sutras. Yes, yeah. Indeed.
I thought so when you said, what was the word? Now I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, Sangha. I was like, oh, she knows. But we were trying to explain how to take the seat of the observer and the difference between identifying with the fluctuations of the mind, as we describe in Sutra 1.2, and being able to zoom out and take a bird's eye view and watch and witness that which is the experience of the human trappings of the mind. And how to not identify as your thoughts, not identify as all of these things that we hold as titles, like Jeanine, the author of 911 from Your Soul. Yes. How do we this is exactly what you're speaking to. And it's kind of a concept that in our culture is not always widely practiced or not even really widely taught, unless you're in a focused group like this in a yoga teacher training. And I could see people, kind of grappling with this idea of, okay, how do I practically do that in a situation where I am identifying with my thoughts as the truth and not even really stopping to ask, is this helpful? Is it kind? Is it true? Do I really need to believe that that is what I am, the sum totality of me? And so I love this book because you offer us, not only is it a beautiful container to take a step back and really look at the truth of what's happening, but also to create a container of love and self-inquiry and, create these practices in your daily life. So thank you. And then do you want to talk about, would you just tell us, for those of us that haven't picked up the book yet and are curious about what 911 from Your Soul is, and we've been alluding to it, but would you just tell us a little bit about your book?
I sure will. And before I go there, I just wanted to comment on something that you said. Practically, one thing that helps me shift from not getting attached to my thoughts is the idea that we are the awareness. No thought is ever truth until we decide to linger on it or give it attention. And we know this to be true for all your listeners. There are times somebody says something, and if it's so, like if I looked outside right now and said, oh my gosh, it's the middle of the day in Minneapolis and it is green outside. Everywhere the sky is green, the trees are yellow. Somebody would look at me if they were sitting next to me in Minneapolis and say, that thought is just ridiculous, right? So we know how to dismiss something, right? We are the awareness, aware of that shared thought that has no truth. The challenge becomes with our false self when we listen to our ego or personality. Sometimes there seems to be a kernel of truth. It said, oh, you should have done this. Well, there might have been a kernel of truth. You were in a meeting or in a dialogue with somebody, and maybe all the things you wanted to say didn't move through you in the moment, or you said them kind of messy. Maybe that's true. But the thought of you are wrong or not enough because of who you were being in an interaction, those are the things we want to step away with our awareness and go, interesting. Isn't that interesting? Doggone it. That old pattern of not enough is showing up in my thoughts, and it's making me feel really crappy, So when I sit back and go, I am the awareness, aware of what I'm hearing or seeing or thinking, then I can choose again. I can choose a higher quality thought. So that is oftentimes helpful, and it might be helpful to your listeners that we're actually the one who's aware of those thoughts.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for bringing that back home. That's such a nice way to reiterate and reinforce these ideas. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, 911 from your soul. What a 911 is, just to give people some context, is they are experiences in your life where you experience a yearning or a challenge or a crisis. Maybe some part of your familiar identity has been shaken or stripped away. Maybe some relationship changed, or your job, or a health condition. So some part of who you know yourself to be is tipped upside down, and you're not sure how to make sense of who you are anymore, or how even to move forward. Sometimes it's just a yearning. For me, it was this persistent yearning. The details of my life looked good from the outside. I was a successful Fortune 50 executive. I had 2 amazing children. I had cool travel. I had wonderful, supportive family and friends. And I think from the outside, people would have said, man, she's successful. The things we're taught externally we're supposed to have. And yet inside, every morning I would wake up at 3:00 or 3:33 with this whisper that said, there's something more for you and through you. So I was successful yet unfulfilled. And that might be a presentation. For some, they're playing small in life. Like they've got this dream that's been seeded in their heart, and they've got these inspired ideas, and yet they're scared. They're scared they may not be enough, or they might not have enough to make it come true. For others, they're grappling with the big questions in life. Like, is this it? And what is the purpose of life? So at the core of however your 911 looks, because it will be unique for everyone on the call or listening in, but at the core, your familiar solutions just don't work anymore. And you might go to the experts and you might try everything that worked for quite a long time for you, but it's not working. And fundamentally, there's this magnetic pull inward. And that is by design, because a 911 isn't actually meant to be a crisis. It's just masquerading as a crisis. It's actually meant to be a love note from the universe to you to say, hey, you, I want to help you remember who you really are. And the only way to get there right now is to have a little shakeup. And in that shakeup, you'll come to reunite with what you're actually seeking, which is to remember you are this incredible soul, or if that word doesn't work for you, inner genius, or entelechy. It's the entelechy of a caterpillar to become a butterfly, of an acorn seed to become an oak tree. You too have this seed of potential, and you're meant to realize it. And we're going to help you step into a deeper truth. Mm-hmm. And in a 911, we always come out of it on the other side wiser. We tune into gifts or capabilities or capacities that we didn't even know we had. You know, we don't feel ready. We don't feel prepared. And that's why it can feel unsettling. But it teaches us the strength of who we are and the love of who we are.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful book. Oh, thank you so much for giving that synopsis. I want to talk about the practice of stillness. Yes. It's threaded throughout the book. It's a big part of the work that you do. And I often think about the idea of meditation and being still in something like a seated meditation, or even practicing being still in something like shavasana. Yes. And how it can be so hard for us, right? And what's going on, and what is stillness? What do we really mean when we say stillness? Is it important for the mind to stop working?
Yeah. So I think stillness is actually resting in the awareness or in the breath of love. That's what I think stillness is. I think, I call it doing nothing, but it's kind of it's back to that paradox. We are doing nothing in stillness, and yet we're remembering everything in stillness. So to me, there's two kind of reasons why to do stillness. One is just from pure science. There's some really cool data right now from the Microsoft Human Labs that if you just take a break between each activity or event that you do, doesn't matter if you're working from home or in a business office, but if you close your eyes roughly every 60 minutes, just close your eyes and breathe, we see on brain imaging that you're less stressed. So the simple act of shutting down that constant flood of information by closing your eyes and breathing, really fully breathing in your body, creates less stress. So from a science perspective, we can use stillness as a transition. And then we show up as a better version of us. we could take a beat and say, okay, how am I going to meet this next moment as the best of who I am? Mm-hmm. Or how do I want to meet this next moment? Do I want to meet it with curiosity? Do I want to meet it with peace? Do I want to meet it with patience? We get to choose again. So that's one reason. And that, by the way, everybody's got time for. Literally 30 seconds. So when you leave this podcast, before you transition to the next thing, just close your eyes and feel the breath in your body for 30 seconds. We can all do that. Our head, though, might pop in with no, we can't, or I'm busy, and simply say noted. Noted. Sometimes my busy brain's super active. Those 70,000 thoughts are, I feel like 150,000 thoughts. And I'll say, my goodness, busy today. And then I retouch. But the other reason why we want to practice stillness is that when people say you already, the universe is within, your answers are within, it's nice to hear that, but it doesn't feel very tangible or very practical, or it might seem wildly crazy. But But what you will find is through getting still, at some point during that day or in the following days, you'll get an inspired idea. You'll see a quote that you're like, ah, yes. You'll hear something on the radio. You'll see an animal, and that animal totem has a message for you. You'll see a number sequence. You'll feel goosebumps. Like you'll start to tune into how your soul speaks. And you get to do you. There's the quieter pursuits of stillness through the breath is one. Watching a flickering candle is great. Again, our attention goes to the dancing of the flame versus the busyness of the mind. Holding a cup of tea and literally feeling the warmth, feeling the trickle. It's like there's so many ways to move into leaving our busy brain into stillness. Some people do better getting there through an active pursuit, a freeing run where eventually they lose the busy mind, rhythmic dancing, painting, weightlifting. For others, it's nature. We lose our busy mind in the sunset. We lose our busy mind being caressed by the gentle breeze of life that reminds us we're supported. We lose our busy mind when we feel the sun on our body saying, hey, turn on your light. You're guided by light. You know, all around us, there's invitations to lose our busy mind.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. So so many directions I want to go. I think I'm looking at chapter 11 in the book, Living Ensouled. And what this chapter brings up for me is this concept, especially in our industry, you know, in wellness and in yoga communities, that there's almost like and I'm curious if you feel this pressure from the perspective of someone who hasn't embarked on that journey. And that might be an overstatement. But it seems like that we as teachers of this kind of these practices, that there's this expectation that we've got it all figured out, right? Or that we don't have these human moments where Jeanine's laughing, that we don't, kind of quote unquote backslide into the trappings of the busy brain or whatever it is that we tell ourselves that it isn't enough, or making mistakes and saying the wrong thing. So that's something that I want to address when, it's just the first paragraph. You say, in my perfect spiritually informed life, I arise early to meditate. You know, I fuel my body with healthy organic foods and my mind with empowered vision and thoughts. And it's, to me, this idea of quote unquote, achieving enlightenment in this lifetime looks like this every second of the day, which is it's a lot of pressure to put on ourselves, right?
Yeah, and it's so not even possible.
Exactly.
Or why we're even here. Yeah. That's why a little further down, I say, do I do this? And I'm like, in moments, I think, and then other moments, absolutely not. Oh. Listen, we are the beauty of the and. We are human and we are divine. We need rest and we need productivity. We will experience light and dark, joy and pain. We have a personal life and a professional life. It is this beauty of the and. I don't believe that our purpose in life is perfection and that we're going to live from this divine nature in all moments. I think a higher purpose is to just remember that that's who we are, and to maybe have more and more and more moments of coherence when we're leading as love, when we're leading with an empowered, graceful, kind lens and voice in the world. And are we going to have a whole bunch of messy moments? Will we have struggle? Yes. We somehow, I mean, that's who we are. We are this and. And so I think in our higher purpose of remembering love, when we have the messy moments, then we can say, oh my goodness, that's expected. Okay, onward. Oh my goodness, human moment. Come over here, beloved. Let's swing again. That's it. Just to know my goodness, noted. I'm going to choose a different thought, a different action next time. That's it. It doesn't have to be evaluated for 80 hours. It doesn't have to be punished. It can simply be an awareness of, was I moving from my human nature with filters and biases and limitation? Or was I moving from the highest truth of my true self? That's it. And then choose again. Let's be kinder. Let's be gentler with ourselves.
Yeah. Amen.
And I'm also a beauty of the and with a science and soul, right? I am also a certified high performance coach, this crazy background, psychotherapy, Fortune 50 exec, energy work. So if we go back to stillness as a way to support you, I do also use some of my high performance strategies. Like in the beginning, I had to schedule it. I had to schedule it on my alarm clock every morning and just say, take 5 breaths, because otherwise I would have gotten up, looked at my iPhone right away, looked at the messages to see all that wasn't done ahead of me, and I would have started my day in a bit of a frenzy. And instead, we know from the high performance data that the first thing you should do in the morning is something for you, something that's inspiring. You might read a few quotes or turn on a little music, reflect on your day, and spend some quiet time. So I might schedule in the morning. I had to put a reminder on my phone that said breathe, because even though I knew, I heard the words, take a breath every hour, take a beat, close your eyes, I didn't do it because the natural busyness of life, I felt like I just had to keep going. And when I was finally done, then I would take a break. Well, we're never done. And so we never take a break. So I actually needed the reminder on my phone. So I really do use some of my science-based techniques we know help us. And then I use my inward strategies as the informant of the highest solution or problem solving that I need to do.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. This has me thinking about the importance of daily ritual and how we bookend our days, how we start our days, how we end our days really sets us up for, moving through the day with a little bit more ease and forethought and the ability to be embodied. And so I'm wondering what other practices, if you have any, that you want to share, start and maybe end your day.
Yeah. So if you're in a super rush in the morning, I would just simply start with 3 breaths, breathe in and breathe out 3 times. And if you believe in a higher power, or if you at least believe in the nurturing of Mother Earth, just simply say, guide me to be the brightest light I can be today. As simple as that, setting that intention, or use an I am. I am a light in this world. Even if you don't feel it, even if you don't believe it, just start seeding that. When I go to bed, I literally do, and another thing I do in the morning, which is one of my favorite questions, is how can I fall in love with life today? How can I fall in love with life today? And some days that question's hard. Like if I'm in a stressful period, that isn't the question I want to ask. I might want to grumble about something. And it reminds me that the universe is sending thousands of little love notes a day of saying, hey, I got you back. I got you. And when I ask, how can I fall in love with life today? It shifts how I move through life, and I start looking for support because we see what we look for. Mm-hmm. So those first words, your first words, the first things you put in your mouth, your first thoughts, make your first of everything in the morning of love, something that's generative, positive. When you end the day, make the ending of your thoughts of the last thing you put in your body, of your actions, to be one that is gentle and one that is, I call it forgiving and or celebratory, because they can be two sides of the same coin, which is give yourself permission to, if you had a messy moment or several of them in the day, go, okay, noted, duly noted. I'll begin again. I'm going to renew tonight. I'm going to renew. I'm going to replenish. And I'm going to begin again anew tomorrow. So just a simple permission and forgiveness. And then a thank you. You know, we forget to thank ourselves every day. It's been a lot for a lot of people. So I think sometimes just to say, well done, dear one, you did it. You made it through another day. Well done.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful invitation. Thank you so much. That has me thinking about, I love poetry. One of my favorites is Mary Oliver.
Yes, yes.
You know,
love her.
So I love, I think probably, is it Mary Oliver who wrote The Journey?
You know, I often don't know the names, but I remember lines from her poetry. You know, what will you do with this one?
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
that's my favorite.
I love that. And I'm sure I read all the time that had some influence in terms of, you know, how can I fall in love with life today? Mm-hmm. But the thing that I'd love for folks to do is I love bookending the day. I think it's a wonderful way to begin and complete. And there's a lot of hours in the day. What I'd really love for your listeners to do is go program their phone. Every hour would be ideal, but at least every couple of hours. And just put a word in there, whether it's breathe, whether it is, you know, all is well, smile, you've got this, my bet's on you. Like throughout the day, send yourself some love notes, because bookending is a wonderfully supportive practice, ritual. And there's a lot of hours. So we need support throughout the day, and tiny little bits of soul nosh will enliven you and give you more juice to meet the next moment.
I love that invitation. Yes, you read my mind. I was thinking, okay, well, how can we take it one step beyond bookends? Because there's a lot that can happen from the morning to the evening time that can feel really intense, right?
Yeah, and watch your questions. You know, when I talk about 70,000 thoughts a day, at the end of the day, they're either love or fear. But one of the things I want you to watch for is the thought you're thinking one of setup. This is a setup. How will this serve me? I bet this is going to ease things along the way. Or is it one of setback? Like, oh, seriously? Do not have time for this. It shouldn't have went down this way. You know, I want to meet and embrace the benevolence of this universe that few talk about. So much of the noise and the information in the world is from a fear-based, negative, keeping us stuck perspective. And I believe with every one of my trillions of cells in this being, that it actually is a universe of support. So let's rest in the love of our breath and just ask to see the support, to feel the support, to know where to go for the right kind of support that you uniquely need right now.
Mhm. Yeah, that's such a lovely invitation. Well, so I want to be mindful of your time. And I brought up poetry because it's sometimes I like to end with that question from Mary Oliver that she poses in her poem, Tell me what it is you will do with this one wild and precious life.
Yeah. So that's a
Yeah, I'm
question.
asking.
What will I do with this one wild and precious life? You know, my intention is to be a lighthouse of love and joy and remembrance for people, so that hopefully in an interaction with me, something inside will get ignited to remember who they are, to feel joy for a moment, to believe in themselves. That's what I intend to do with this life, is joy and love and cherish.
Mm.
I think that goes by in the blink of an eye. And when I'm present for the moments, when I'm truly just present for the moment and I choose to see it with love, I cherish the gifted moments of each day.
Yeah. Oh, so many wonderful invitations. I just want to hold up the cover of your book, 911 from Your Soul. Right now, I want to go to the beach and be in that spot where you're sitting.
Thank you. It's one of my favorite spots in La Jolla.
Oh, it's beautiful. So, Jeanine, I cannot thank you enough for your time, your wisdom, your grace, for being here with us and sharing this good work that you do. Is there any last thing that you want to say, call out, or highlight from our conversation or from the book?
Yeah. You know, first of all, just thank you. I love your energy. I love your light and this platform of giving people a space to drink in such love that you offer yourself and through your guests. So I'm delighted to be one of them, and thank you. I'd love to hear from your listeners. You can find me at JanineThompson.net. Drop me a note. Like, I genuinely would love to hear if there's something that you're curious about or that sparked something inside of you. And lastly, I just want to leave you with a love note. You know, put your hand on your heart, close your eyes, and simply say, I am that. I am. I am that. I am. Every one of you, you're just longing. We're not longing the stuff of life, the cars, the titles, the house, the eggs, whatever it might be. We're not actually longing for that. We're longing to reconnect with the part of ourselves we just got so busy trying to do the best that we could do in life. So we got external focused, and some of that's necessary, but come back inside. There's a soul you're longing to meet.
Yeah. Thank you. I think my key takeaway from this conversation is the invitation to pause. That 30-second pause is so powerful. And when we were talking about the giving yourself that space to separate from the thought, the identification of the felt sense of being human and feeling like you're having a messy moment or making a mistake in something that you said that you wish you wouldn't have said, is within that ability to pause and take that 30 seconds to place your hand on your heart and your belly and really get inside of your body and feel your feelings. Not an invitation to bypass them or to say, I can't have these feelings or these feelings are wrong, but just to notice what they are, and to make decision and create action from that embodied place.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you for that reminder. I need it daily.
Yes, we all do. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we aren't here to perfect this. So we just get to go, I get to begin again. Yay, me.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing how we can connect with you and the invitation to connect with you. I always want to know how, people can support you in your work and connect with you when it makes sense. So wonderful. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, have a delicious rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, everyone, that concludes another amazing episode of Outside the Studio. I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you learned something new, maybe remembered something old, maybe felt inspired to apply something to your life. You can hear my dog in the background. She's doing a little happy dance. So Daisy enjoyed it. Anyhow, I wanted to just pop in here to wrap us up to say a couple of things. Number one, I have such an amazing team that helps me put these podcasts together. Without them, I wouldn't, be able to bring these amazing conversations to you. So thank you to my producer, my director of creative services, my sound editor, my engineer, Consistency Media. Don't know what I would do without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the amazing creation and artistic musical genius, Drew Lovern. Thank you so much for putting together this music specifically for Outside the Studio. So unique to the show, only place you're ever going to hear it is right here. Thanks, you guys. You make my world go round. Stay well, everyone. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, share on the socials, especially if it's a show that you think, hey, this could help somebody else. That's what this is all about, right? We're sharing information so that we're better, so that we're inspired, so that we're lifting each other up, and we're learning how to be in this world, living on this planet to the best of our ability, sharing information and inspiring one another. And that's my hope. That's my hope for the show. Take care.